Welcome back to Rudy's Travels. This week in part 3 of the Building the Galley series, we are plumbing the galley to provide hot and cold running water for the sink that was installed in part 2. This is an illustration of the water system that we will be configuring. The components shown in white were provided from the factory when we purchased the hiker trailer, and the gray components are the ones we will be adding. The blue lines represent cold water lines and the red lines are the hot water lines. The dash frame represents the trailer, so everything within the dash frame are components that are mounted inside the trailer. Everything outside the dash frame are components that are mounted on the outside of the trailer, and everything bordering the dash frame are mounted on the trailer walls to connect the outside to the inside. Starting from the top, water is obtained from a water source such as a spigot at an RV park, and is fed through the 2-stage water filter that we previously installed on the roof rack, and then through the water import into the 21-gallon water tank that's mounted underneath the trailer. The water pump, when turned on via the electrical switch, will draw water from the tank and make it available via the water out port. We will customize this by adding a T in that line and branching a supply line over to the cold water in on the faucet, where we will use another T to feed water over to a second water out port that we will add on the passenger side of the trailer. That will feed a water heater that will be mounted outside the trailer in a future episode. That water heater is fueled by a propane tank, and the heated water is fed to either a shower head that we will use in the privacy tent or back into the trailer via a water import that we will also install on the passenger side. From there, we'll run a water supply back to the hot water input at the faucet. This will enable us to have cold running water at the sink at all times, and we can use hot water for washing up and dishwashing when we need it. I need to go from compression to this T, like that. So to get there, I need a couple of pieces. I'm going to have a compression fitting here, and then a male coupler, and then go to barb here, and then I'll put a little jumper cable into that, and that'll get me from compression into this T right up there. So when I put all these pieces together, I end up with this, use a little plumber's tape. So this will be fit onto the compression fitting here when I'm ready to hook the sink up. But for now, I'm just going to get a short piece of tubing and join these two, and actually the T up there with this. Just have this here to show you. And then once I get that hooked up, we'll take a look at it. Now I have this T almost completely assembled. We're coming in from the water supply, and this is going to come down to this whole fitting, which will end up with the compression fitting here, and this is the hose that will go up to the faucet with that fitting there. So when we're ready to do the faucet, we'll take care of that, but for now we're just going to tack it up with some clamps up here, with some clamps. Put some clamps along the top here to hold it in place, and it should work out well. I've got the fitting secured on the underside of the countertop. I moved the sink out of the way, as you can see, to give me some room to work. Got a couple of clamps to hold it in place against the underside. I'll probably put another one up here, secure that, and then I'll keep going with the pipe over to the side over there, where we'll end up terminating that with the fitting to get the cold water out onto the other side. Okay, so the cold water line is pretty much done, and it's going from the T near the pump. It comes up around, there's the fixture for the faucet for the sink, and then it snakes right over the cage for the galley, which is great because I had a clearance of about 3/4 of an inch. So that slid in very nicely, and it goes down, and right now it's just sitting down there. I have to install that
water output port in the wall on the side of the trailer there, and then connect it up, and this part will be done. And then we'll just hook up the faucet as well. Okay, so in order to install this water port on this side of the trailer, I'm going to have to take out a 1.5 inch diameter hole, and then this will slide right in, just like on the other side, the one that comes with the hiker trailer. So I'm going to be drilling a big hole in the side of the trailer. Everything else done, and just go in like this. And I'll run this to my hot water heater, which will be mounted right above. And that's the final connection into the cold water port on the passenger side. All completed. Back to the T and to that T. So I can't test it out until I connect the faucet to the compression fitting over here, because the water will leak out. We're going to do that next. The cold water supply is on the left. That's teed off from the line coming from, you can see over there, from the water pump. That line coming up here is behind the basin, and that ends at that T. And that comes up right up into the faucet, which is behind here. I don't know how much you can really see that. That black sleeve that goes in there, it's hooked in there, it's threaded in there rather. And then the cold water comes across over the galley frame and then out the side, which we did previously. And then the hot water is going to come in next to it and hit that line there when I connect that up. Right now it's just capped off. And that will come back through here, back to that elbow right there, and then drop down that red striped supply line that goes up to the faucet right there. So cold water out, and then it'll make a round trip through the hot water heater and back in. Right now, just got one little drip there. I just have to tighten up the fitting over there. We had a little drip here before, but we reseated the gasket, and it looks pretty good. So just to see what happens when it comes out, what I did was I drilled a hole, 1.5 inch hole back here, which goes down. Let's see if we can go underneath. Light that up. There's the drain bucket. There's the hose. So what I did actually was go underneath, and I needed about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, I forget, something like that, outside diameter for the drainage tube. So I backed off from that frame piece there because I couldn't go any farther back. Drilled up with a pilot hole, saw that it came up here, right about there. Anyway, and then took a hole saw from the top and drilled down. You can't really see it. There it is. Okay, the hole saw. And that went through nicely. And then just cut this drainage tube here. Got an elbow and a couple of clamps into this piece. This piece came with the sink. Let's do that. This piece came with the sink, so I just had to join this to the small jumper tube over here, to this elbow and down. So it's pretty straightforward. I'll just have to keep a 5-gallon bucket under there. And when we turn it on, it kicks on, and there's the drainage. So no leak from there. And as you can see, it's just going to drain right out there. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple setup as far as the draining goes. Let's turn that off. Okay, this just came in from Amazon last night, and it's a RV city water inlet fixture. Basically, it looks like it's garden hose input with a nice little filter, little screen there. And this will go through the side wall of the trailer over there, stick out there. And I put on this this fitting here with a barb end, which will slide right into the end of our hose here. I'll just take out this garden hose end cap that I had on there temporarily, and we should be able to get the hot water in here through a hose back into the faucet up there. So let's put this together and check it out. Okay, just to check this out before I drill a hole in the side of the trailer. We've hooked this up to a hose directly coming out of the cold water outlet there. So basically it'll be in normal operation going from the cold water outlet through the hot water heater and then into this inlet, which will be on the side, assuming this all works out. So this is going back to my hot water heater. So we just want to make sure that everything flows. There's no crazy kind of loop condition. And so let's just turn it on and see how it works. All right. The water going through there. Hard to see, but I feel it. Yep. The water's coming through there. Very nice. So the cold water going out there, it'll go through the hot water heater back into the hot water inlet into the faucet. And as you can see, that's working pretty well. Let's shut that down. Let's turn the pump off. Pump's off. Relieve the pressure in the system. Okay. No pressure in the system. And if we come over here, I got a quick release on this now. This should pop right off. Hopefully, let me do it from over here first. Okay, pressure out of there. Pressure out of there. So if I happen to turn on the cold water without any hose hooked up, there's a check valve in here, which should prevent any kind of sucking in of air from an open outlet, open inlet rather. And let's check on that. This way, if the faucet tries to suck in on the hot water setting, but there's nothing hooked up, it should just be a null. So let's turn the pump on. There we go. And run the water. The water's running. It's actually asking for hot water now, but because it's closed loop, we see fine. There's my drain working out pretty good. Yeah, no, this is the check valve that's preventing anything from coming, any air from coming in. A nice flow of water, and I think we're all good to go. We just have to install the inlet valve on the wall right about there. Good, and the cage will have plenty of room to put right back in here for the galley, the frame that I built, and go right back into here. Plenty of clearance. So just do one final test. Make sure there's no leaks on the final setup. Okay, we'll do a final test on the system. Pump on. All right, pump's on, and we'll turn the water on up here. Flowing. Air out of the system. There we go with a nice flow. Don't see any leaks, no drips. So I think we are complete for the inside plumbing, and we'll do a stress test on the system and get back to you on that.